Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes?
Yes. I'll make a motion we accept the minutes as written.
I second it.
We have a motion and a second to accept the minutes as written. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Is there anyone opposed? So moved. Okay. Now we get into the fun part. When we left here 2 weeks ago, we had gone over everything, every division within the selectmen's budget except for the parks. We left that for tonight so that we could all be fresh and we could have some discussion, as I was not here for when they came in. There have been a lot of changes to the parks budget. There is, the park commission expense is an increase of 35%. That's huge, and it has to be justifiable in order to present it to the townspeople and say that that's what we are giving to them, that's what we want them to pay out of their tax dollars. There's a 35% increase in the park commission. I'm not sure that that's what we want to do. Some of the major changes to the parks was the addition of a part-time personnel in the summertime to do park maintenance. Does that include the janitorial, Kathy? That you remember?
Well, the janitorial work that we subcontract out is the cleaning of the bathrooms, basically. This person would do janitorial work as it pertains to the picnic tables that are outside that are used daily, the kitchen area if it needs it, that type of thing.
It doesn't say that here. It says mowing lawns, weeding, mowing, 132 ball field, miscellaneous painting.
The list of things that we have that are, I call it the gray area, that the landscaper that is subcontracted doesn't do, and that the public works director doesn't do, is 2 pages.
So it's more specific than this list.
It's very specific.
And that person is only supposed to be there May through October?
Yeah. When the park is heavily used.
During the warmer months. Not that we'll ever see them again. At least it doesn't feel that way now.
It doesn't.
The other increase is just, well, to be quite honest, I'm concerned about the autonomy that was granted to the Parks Commission. They've gone out and they've put in a well at the ball field up there. They've gone and I know that they followed their own channels, and I know that they have the ability to spend money out of the rec fund, that they are the ones that have that power. But some of the things that they've done, like putting in that ice skating rink, are going to be ongoing, continuing costs to the town and the taxpayers on them. I know that there's supposed to be a lot of volunteer work being done there, a lot of people taking care of things, but...
And that's what's taken place this winter. Peter's plowed it. He and I both have gone up and, put things back together. I have a box downstairs. I'll be up there this week.
I checked on it when I drove through.
Putting things on, yeah. It's Bob has been there. We've all been there, and that's what's
how often
happening.
is it being looked at? I mean, I stopped by tonight when I came home from work, and some of the yellow fiber, the stuff is gone. It's just gone. It's supposed to be padding. There's no seat there. I didn't notice any seat there.
Oh, that's what's in the box downstairs. You're talking about some of the yellow noodles?
Yeah.
When we received the package, some of those were not there. We didn't receive all we should have, and some of the kick plates were not there. Those are what's in that box that's out down in the hallway by Catherine's office. We had to order them at no cost. Because they weren't part of the, that's what I'm going to be putting in. They didn't come with the package. They were minus them.
And
But I
this
swing in.
big heap of ice, snow pack at one end of the rink, what is there a plan to keep at least one avenue clear so that people can actually get over there without climbing over snow? Because it's going to be a lot of chopping through ice at this point to get a clear path through to it. I mean, it's all plowed around it, but you can't get onto the ice without going over.
You need some vacuum to give the pressure of the ice trying to collapse the frame. And so you need pressure on the outside to hold it in place. So you can shovel some steps into the ice, but there's going to be snow pretty much all the way around it.
Kids have been skating on it since the first
I
dump
can
of
see that
water.
people have been skating on it.
But I swing in there almost every time I drive by, which is often.
Is this going to create, and this is a big fear of mine, create another position that starts out as a volunteer, and then there's not enough volunteers to go around, and it's not being checked, and it needs to have a person. You're saying that, you're shaking your head no, Kathy, but
Well, I don't-
that's a true concern of mine.
It's a
It has to
winter.
be.
Oh, and I completely understand that. It's a, it's a winter project. It's certainly not going to be there in the summer, and I don't see, there's enough park commissioners, there's enough people who are excited about it that I don't see why it would generate a person there. I've asked the police just to go in at night. And that park should have a patrolman, whether that rink is there or not, should have a patrolman going in there at night, going by the other side, just taking a look. But I can't see that we would hire anybody to take care of it.
I think the concern I have is with the part-time guy. There's no supervisor for that part-time guy. Where's the supervision going to come from?
The park commissioners.
Yeah, but they're not full-time employees. I mean, they're not in town all the time, Catherine. I mean,
One of your selectmen is the ex officio, and one of your selectmen is the alternate ex officio, which is myself. And I'm in town all the time.
still, I mean, you're taking a job where you've got more hours on this agenda too. I mean, where you're going to be busier. That's what you're telling us with the budget. I just think it's wrong to have. I totally disagree with the part-time. I won't vote for the part-time.
I guess my question would be, if you're not going to have somebody doing these things in that park, and it's really mostly Riverfront Park, who would you have do it?
I think
Because they're not going to get done.
I think we got shortchanged, Catherine. We had a position with the highway department. It was not good enough, supposedly. We went out and contracted the mowing. That was the culprit. The mowing wasn't good. Now we're going back. We're not only also out contracting the mowing out for all these parks, now we're going out and getting another part-time guy. I just don't think it's fair.
80% of the work that the part-time guy is going to be doing was not done by the Public Works Department.
No, most of his time was spent, if you look back, was spent on mowing. He was spending 18 hours a week, and it was on mowing. That's what Dennis gave to us. That guy was spending, Dick Mayer was spending 18 hours a week.
Dick Mayer
and he
was
mowing.
Dick Mayer was only there 1 year.
I know, but that's what we were presented, was 18, he was doing
last
18
year.
hours, and he was mowing both there and the ball field. I think that we've come right around full circle, and now we've created another position when
We're not creating another
away from it.
position. Dennis used to hire a part-time person.
Yeah, and we
Going
went
back to
mowing it.
2004, 2005,
We went to hiring
2006.
the contractor to do the mowing, and that was supposed to take care of it. And now we hear that it's too expensive to have him come in and do the weeding, it's too expensive to have him come in and do that. When it was presented to the budget committee, it was presented that that was going to be contracted out and that they were going to take care of all that. Now we hear, when Bob was in front of us, we hear that it cost $400 for them to weed at one time. So it's come right back around. You can say what you want. I just don't agree with it.
I think I go back to my original question. Who would you have do these things that neither the Public Works Department was doing and don't want to do,
I don't know.
And the landscaper doesn't do, or we pay the landscaper $400 each time to come out and weed?
I get upset for the fact
Who's
that...
going to weed the park?
I get upset for the fact that taxpayers were sold to purchase a zero-turn mower at $10,000 to mow these parks, and we're not even using it in these parks anymore. That's very frustrating.
Well,
As a taxpayer, I think it's a waste of funds.
I can't say that I disagree with you there, but
Well,
that's a park commissioner's
You can
decision.
disagree with me, but it's a fact.
It is a fact, I
It's a
agree
fact
with
that we
you.
spent $10,000 on a zero-turn mower, and we're not using it in any of the parks now. Simple as that. And I think that's sad for a homeowner or a taxpayer in town.
But to go back to the part-time person, again, who would you have do these
I
things?
don't know, but I see it just escalating. We're just building, and it's costing more and more for the taxpayers. That's what I see, and I just...
You know,
I
we
disagree
have
with it.
Riverfront Park, and the choice is, do we maintain it?
I'm not saying about maintaining it. I just think we're
In
doing it
a-
the most expensive way we can possibly maintain it. That's my point. I'm not saying I don't want to see it maintained. I think what we're doing is the most expensive way we can possibly maintain it. We're going out and we're contracting the mowing, and now we've got another guy that's going to do all the other things at the park, outside of the mowing and the trimming. And I just think that we're building up, and it's costing the taxpayers more money than ever. That's my point. I'm not saying I don't think, I think it should be maintained. I just don't think we're being cost-effective the way we're doing it. That's my point.
Well, if the Public Works Department was maintaining the park, they would hire a part-time person for the summer, which is what they used to do.
Yeah, and they used to mow it. They used to mow all the parks with that part-time person.
And they did all of these other things that this part-time person would do, because that's what the part-time summer help was hired to do. So it's either the Public Works Department hire the
But for a lot
part-time...
less money, when you figure out what we're paying for contracting mowing and what we're paying, going to pay $7,400 for this part-time guy, it was a lot less money to the taxpayer.
Actually, I think Dennis's estimated budget, when he was asked to prepare a budget, what it would cost us to have the town do it was very similar to the subcontracted price.
Is there any
Not with the $7,400 added on top of it, Catherine.
Is there any reason this part-timer can't mow? We've got the mower.
It's a park commissioner's question.
Our commission? Is there any reason this gentleman can't mow if we provide the equipment?
I guess you'd have to ask the Public Works Director if we can use his machinery for
It's
starters.
the town's machinery, actually. It's not...
Yeah, under Public Works.
I'm just asking. I'm just...
No, I
Big part of that part-time work is to do things like the annual painting, the cleaning, the pressure washing of the building at Riverfront, which has never been done, so you go by there anytime in the summer, it's covered in cobwebs. We've got weeding both in garden beds and stone dust walkways. You get the litter blown into the brush along Black Swan, cigarette butts along the curb in the parking lot.
I'm not saying it's a good or bad idea.
We could probably do it, but I don't know if we'd probably have to increase the hours on the part-time.
But you wouldn't have to contract out the mowing.
So it'd still be cheaper.
There would be, the part-time person wouldn't have time to do all the mowing and trimming necessary, because remember, the subcontract, Belknap Landscape, who did the work last year, they don't just mow. There's a lot of other things they do. They do brush trimming, brush cutting, they do trimming, they do mowing, they do...
Do they have the fertilizing license?
I don't think we didn't require them to fertilize, did we, last year?
No, I don't believe we did.
That is an issue. You're correct.
So they just don't come in and mow. There's a lot of other work they do. But
We just try to utilize the equipment that we have.
I understand, and, you know, I trust me, I keep the same scenario in my head. I mean, the park commissioners felt that when Public Works was doing it, that they didn't have enough time to do it properly. people did comment that the park didn't look as good as it could have that year, and then when they subcontracted it out to Belknap Landscaping, people commented that the park looked much better. So, I mean, I guess that's the question. How do you want the park to
When
look?
you add all of your contracting expenses, Catherine, through Belknap County Landscaping, and the $7,410 you're asking for a part-time guy, you're at $19,260. And what I hear from you is the part-time person through the highway department didn't have enough time to do the work that you were asking him to do. He was working at 18 hours a week. And now you're going to increase it.
No, that's not what I said. I said a part-time person, when it was just proposed, the part-time person proposed would not be able to do all of the mowing, brush cutting, and everything that the landscaper does with 3 people, plus all the other things that need to get done that the landscaper and Public Works doesn't do. I never did. That's what I said.
I think for $19,260 is not the best economics for the taxpayer. And I'll stand on that. I think we're crazy what we're spending for money. And I don't think we're being wise with the money, with how we're handling it.
We get a lot of landscaping. There's the additional cost for the 132 ball field. What's going on with the installation of the security cameras? Is that something that's set in stone? What's the lights for the skating? You know, that's another expense. $600 for electric lights for the skating rink.
Well, you're looking at estimated of electric for skating lakes and the water pump to run the well.
Was this okay, actually putting in the skating rink and stuff in the well, was okayed by the diocese?
Yes. I have a letter sitting on my dining room table. I'm sorry I didn't think to bring it. Yes, we have permission from the diocese for the skating rink, the lights, and the shed that Home Depot has donated to us.
Does that letter specify that the town is liable for everything if something happens there?
We've already contacted our insurance company, and they have a copy of a certificate of insurance from them.
It's icy there, by the way, walking from where you park to get over. Everything is icy right now, but it's not even, put your skates on before you even get to the skating rink. It's not good footing.
No, but the skating rink isn't officially open, but how do you close a skating rink? That's why
That's why I said it's everywhere, but it becomes a town liability in that, because you basically have a public recreation, you know, it becomes the town's responsibility.
Well, I think that's true if they use any of the parks.
I am aware of that.
Everything is icy. Riverfront Park is
Everything is
quite interesting.
Exactly.
But that's the only one that's got a specific winter
Riverfront
purpose.
Park is not closed in the
I mean,
winter.
it could be classified an attractive nuisance.
It could be a what nuisance?
It's called an attractive nuisance, meaning like a swimming pool, for example. It is reasonable to assume people will trespass, and you're liable for somebody even if they sneak onto your land if you have a swimming pool, for example. In a skating rink, you've got a specific winter purpose, so it is, the town has to be reasonably aware that people are going to be using it in the wintertime, therefore ice conditions are more to the point than in, say, Riverfront or other places. It's called an attractive nuisance.
It's also an inherent risk, so you're assuming that when you go ice skating, you're going to be on ice and out in the winter. And
Right, but that doesn't stop you, the town, from being liable.
It's an inherent risk at the riverfront, it's an inherent risk at the island.
The insurance company, when they were notified that the skating rink was not overly concerned of any additional liability risk to the town, there was no increase in rate, there was no, they just said, okay, thanks for letting us know.
We do have
It's all fun and games till somebody loses an eye.
Well, they could do that walking out of town hall. Jane had snowfall on her twice last week from the roof. She walked out the door.
It's a good thing Jane isn't doing us.
Yeah.
Thank God there wasn't a chunk of ice, we might have lost her.
Good thing we don't pigeon.
Yeah, my concern is, like I said, is that the skating rink is increasing the cost. Minimally, it might seem, but overall, there's a 35% increase in this budget line.
I don't think you're going to attribute that to the skating rink.
No, not all of it. You've got a $7,400 that's going to a part-time employee. That's,
But again, I mean, that's something
know?
Dennis used to hire regularly.
And he
to
still
do
does. He
summer
still
work.
has a part-time person in his budget.
That's for winter plowing.
But he's still got a part-time person in there.
That's for winter plowing, but he's always done that. Or subcontracted it.
But what, for the 19,260 is almost what we're presenting for you, Catherine, for a full year.
Well, for the health officer, it's an hourly rate.
I know, but
It's
what
a-
I'm saying
It's an
is-
estimated hours, and I can tell you right now, for example, for the past 2 weeks, like today, this week, let's go for this week, I've probably spent less than 8 hours on health officer issues because of the time of year. So for the health officer, it's not comparable because,
No, but what I'm saying is,
you know,
for the 19,000, you could increase the hours to 32 or however much you can, so you don't have to create a full-time position, but you create a part-time position. Increase the hours, and we'd still be well underneath the $19,260. That's my point. And do the mowing, do the other things that have to be done at Riverfront Park, so on and so forth, and I still think we would save the taxpayers money. That's my point on this.
I can't completely disagree with you. Again, I mean, I've never wavered from my thought that the highway department could do the mowing, but it didn't work for whatever reason. It wasn't
Lack
up
of
to snuff.
supervision, though, but it gets back to that supervision,
Yeah.
you know.
Still a lack of supervision.
Yep.
Total lack of supervision. I mean, it's one thing when you have your contracted out your landscape and you know that they're going in there, you're going to see what they're doing. They are their own supervisors, and you're paying for it. This kid, because it's a student, is supposed to go over there and be doing all this and not hanging out with his friends and just doing, I mean, how are you going to hire anybody that's going to do this?
It won't be a student.
It says
says
student
student.
right here in the paperwork.
It says student.
Well,
Look at the time of year. When does college get out?
Beginning of
It's-
May.
End of May. When does it start? Labor Day. We're going into October.
Yeah, that doesn't preclude that you wouldn't get a student in there doing the work.
You know,
or-
regardless of whether it's a student or a grown-up.
It doesn't
I
matter, it's
mean,
still not supervised.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter. A grown-up can be just as like the days
Exactly,
of
and the
school at
person
his
that you're
job
going to get to
than
do
a
this is
student. I
going to
think
be
we
that
all
type
know
of a
that.
person,
But-
which is why you've had the issue already.
Necessarily could be
An individual who's hired to do the work doesn't need someone standing there all the time they're in the park. They need instruction, they need people that are going to be stopping and checking on them.
Punch list or checklist,
That's exactly
what has to be
right.
done,
I mean,
inspection.
In a week's time, trust me, if this person is not doing what they're supposed to be doing, they're in jeopardy of losing the job. I'm over in that park at least twice a week in the summer. I carry garbage bags and a grabber to pick up trash in that park. I mean, it wasn't the
You shouldn't, if you're paying
landscaper.
somebody, you shouldn't have to do that this year, should you?
No, that's what I'm hoping. But you say it's not going to be supervised. Of course it's going to be supervised. No, they're not just going to hire somebody to say, go do these things in the park, and then at the end of the year go, wow, that didn't work out very well.
Isn't this what the plan that the Park Commission originally wanted?
Yes.
And we've tried every other plan. We've had the piecemeal
Yes.
with landscapers, piecemeal with
Yes.
Public Works. None of these things have worked. And my thoughts are, let the Park Commission manage the parks and do it this year, see how it works, and then tweak it from there if it doesn't work. But we keep saying, no, you can't do it the way you want to run the parks. And then it doesn't work. And I just, you know, where I grew up, we had skating rinks and stuff like that. The people in the town, we were kids, we'd go out and we'd shovel it and help out. Everybody showed up. There's a lot of enthusiasm. And we had Town Common, that was beautiful. They had people picking it, you know, the employee picking it up and doing those things. These are the things that when people drive through this town, see. They see a beautiful park, they see recreational opportunities, increases values of homes, and keeps kids out of trouble and all that. And I think it's worth the investment to try it out this year, and if it doesn't work, then we have something to go on, but we have to, I feel we have to give the Parks Commission a chance to run the parks.
I agree with John.
I agree also. Said that last time. Why build a park like that and have it look horrible, which it has these past years in the summertime.
And next year, if it doesn't look good and it's not working, I'll be the first one to say cut. But
Well, my suggestion is to you halfway through the summer, if you think it's not working, please come to the Park Commissioners meeting and say, hey, or send them a note or a letter or an email and let them know how you feel. But I think it's...
I think Riverfront Park's going to become more and more labor intensive every year, just the way it's designed.
Why?
I think that
Well-
the building was not put up as a building that would be non-maintenance. It's painted, it's got wooden siding, so it's going to create maintenance. You've got walkways that are made with bricks, and the weeds, once they start coming up through the bricks, they're going to continue to come up through the bricks, and that issue's not going to go away. You're just going to get, it's going to get progressively worse. You look at anybody who has a brick patio, and once they start with weeds, you can never get rid of it. And then the ant issue is going to get even just worse, that they push the soil up because they're making a nest underneath the bricks. And it just, that's why I think you're going to see, we're already seeing the maintenance with the railings. They're having a problem with the railings because the kids are jumping off them into the river and the railings are loose. And it's just going to be, I think you're going to see the maintenance issue on Riverfront Park is just going to escalate year in, year out.
But we don't have to deal with that today. Today, we have to deal with whether we're
I
going to...
know, but we're talking about the
Yeah, but
cost,
Scott-
the escalation.
That may be true, but the point is, we have the park. That was done.
I agree with you.
I was not on board, nor do I think anybody else was when that park was built. So we had no input. It was done. It's a done deal. We need to do something to maintain it. And I guess the chore we have to decide is how we're going to do it and what's the most cost-effective way to do it. And as John said, what we've been doing has not been working. So let's give this a shot for 1 year and do what Catherine asked. Come back and say to the Parks Commission, we're not happy. We spent all this money and it's not working.
Or we're delirious.
But don't wait.
And don't,
Come in the middle of the summer, please,
Yeah.
and let them know that you don't think it's working.
I think
If you do
whatever,
think it's working, please let them know that, too.
I mean, there's no such thing as a maintenance-free building.
No, but there's a lot of things that could have been done down there, like I stated
But it
before.
wasn't.
Right.
Stamped concrete and stuff could have been, as opposed to regular bricks being put in. There could have been a lot of thought. We are in New England.
well, I think we spent 4 years of thought on kind of bickering and as to what we were going to do with that park, and
But I think we're
Hashed
fooling
everything
ourselves
out.
if we think the maintenance is not going to increase, that's all I'm
that's
saying.
Well, we've got it.
Yeah, that's what I
And the
said.
question is, how do you want to maintain it? In what manner?
What level?
Exactly.
Okay.
I have to agree with John. I'm going to make a motion that we move this right now and give the Park Commission what they're asking for this year, and that number is...
I second that.
Wait for a number, please.
yeah, he didn't say
What
that.
what is your recommendation?
$33,686.
You get a second?
Second it.
We have a motion and a second to fund the Park Commission at $33,686,000. Normally, at this point, I would ask $33,686. Hopefully, that was clear. Normally, at this point, I ask for We've discussed a lot of this at this point. Beat it, and the consensus had seemed to be that we're going to let them get this, and that I will, if there are questions raised at the public hearing or at town meeting, we will let them know that we're giving the Parks Commission to help make this town a better environment, and keep it up, keep the upkeep on it, even though it increases by 35%. Does anybody have any other further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor of funding the Park Commission at $33,686, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? So moved. Okay, that took care of the Park Commission expense line. It did not address the other line items that need to be addressed here. We have $1,500 for the recycling committee. What exactly is that, to just maintain the site up at
Joe's here, and I think he could probably address that better than I, although I'd make a stab at it if you weren't. Go ahead.
the $1,500 for the recycling committee?
We anticipate having a single-stream facility in place, up and running by December 1st of this coming year. The various financing plans are coming together now. We've done the site work and so forth. That $1,500 is primarily for educational purposes. We plan on making a video that we can post on the town website. What is recyclable, what is not, how you go about creating a recycle program in your home and or business place to help get this stuff out of the atmosphere that we're burning it all down, basically. We can, well, I'm not going to try to cite on the recycling. So, the other stuff is printing out flyers, putting ads in the newspaper, and the recycling's coming. As of this date, you have to do this, and this is how it's going to work. And so we paid $1,500 for that purpose. Personally, I'm on the recycling committee, and personally, I think that number might be a little high as to what we actually spend. But we didn't want to come up short either. And quite frankly, none of us have been involved in an effort to educate the town as to how to recycle and maximize our revenues at the single-stream facility. So we gave ourselves what we thought was a little bit of a cushion to accomplish this. And that's what the $1,500 is about. This year, we had $3,000 for partly that purpose, and spent less than $2,000 because the facility wasn't getting ready to go this far in advance and try to explain how's it going to work. We don't know yet because we haven't talked in the best way about how they're going to collect it, and that we had originally last year brought forth a warrant article that fruition. Doesn't make sense this year, what was not having a readily available place to bring our recyclable. So hopefully we're going to be up and running and everybody will know what to do by the time it gets going.
I'll make a motion that we fund the recycling committee line item for $1,500.
Second.
A motion and a second to fund recycling $1,500. Is there any discussion?
Call the question.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So moved. Okay, separate from the park is the park maintenance for the island alone. That was for $2,000. Was there anything unusual? I didn't think there was anything unusual in that.
No, there really isn't.
I'll make a motion that we fund the park maintenance island line at $2,000.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? So moved. And the next three line items are the last three line items here before we do a complete review, after we've got all of our stuff here. Cultural for Old Home Day, $2,500. Culture for Memorial Day, $200. And culture for Grange expenses for $6,000.
We already voted on Old Home Day.
Did we vote on Old Home Day?
Yeah, we did.
Did we vote on, we didn't vote on Memorial Day.
No, we didn't. We did Old Home Day, though.
Didn't vote on the Grange.
No, those last two we did not.
we've got...
I'll make a motion that we fund the Memorial Day under cultural line for $200, and also make a motion that we fund the Grange expenses $6,000.
I'll second both of those motions.
Okay, we have motions to fund Memorial Day cultural line at $200 and the Grange expenses for $6,000. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? So moved. Okay. Let's see, we did Park Cemetery, we did the Lakes Region Planning, and then we've got... Yeah, I just want to just double check. Yeah, Child and Family Services, Community Action, Transit, and Visiting Nurse, and Animal Control, and New Beginnings, the Shelter, and the Association for the Blind. We have CASA and the Red Cross, and
Genesis, did we hear any more from them?
we haven't heard anything from Genesis, is that correct, Tyler? There's been nothing else from them, right? And we actually funded the Red Cross at $500, right? Not the $1657 that is on the Selectmen's budget.
Chair, I'd like to make a motion that the 2011 budget line numbers in our budget that's put in the book reflects what was passed at the town meeting last year, not what was changed to during the year. I think it's very confusing it would be for me, and I've attended since I've been in town, every budget hearing. It'd be very confusing trying to take last year's book. And I look back through all the town reports, and nowhere has that happened in the past, where we've had different numbers in that lines than we've passed, the legislative body voted on and passed the year before. It's always been in that line. So if you go down through the lines, one of them would be like the administration part-time overtime. However, it got moved around. The line that was voted on at town meeting was for $6,000. Selectmen's assistants, it was $58,854. You go into town hall, maintenance and repairs, that number wasn't $26,000, it was $25,000. Interest on the 10 wasn't $21,000, it was $40,000. The planning board, it was actually $2,000 that was planned, they encumbered the rest of the money over. And you go on, and there's lines like the officers' wages was not $770,000, was not what was in the officers' lines and wages. The part-time lines under the PD wasn't $25,000, it was $10,000. It'd be very confusing for a taxpayer to pick up the book and try to compare where these numbers are. If you take last year's town report and look at the number that was voted on and passed, there's no way it lines up with this year. And this is the only year that that's happened, if we put these numbers in. I went back through the last 6 or 8 years worth of books that I have at home, and there's nowhere that that's happened in the past. It's always been, you could take the year before the budget that was voted on, you look at the next year and you see that as the budget that was put. There was a line one year, I think it was in 2009, 8 or 9, there was a line that they put, how they had rearranged all the lines. An additional line was put in the book that said that this is actually what was expended in each line and how they had moved it around and the percentage above or below when they had moved it. And I know they have the right to do that. I'm just saying, for the taxpayer that sits down at town meeting, takes a town report, and looks at it, it's very confusing if the numbers are all moved around. They're not what was actually voted on the year before. So I'd like to make a motion that the numbers that are in that line are the numbers that was voted on at town meeting last year.
That's up to the Board of Selectmen to determine.
Isn't it the Budget Committee's budget that goes before the town meeting?
It is your recommended, this Budget Committee column here is, yes.
No, I'm saying
that's
this
yours.
line here.
But these lines that are set up and these amounts, it's up to the Selectmen to determine that. And I'm not saying that they would not disagree with you.
For purposes...
Rather than making a motion, why don't you just make a recommendation to the selectmen for this year? We'll be more than happy to take it into consideration.
Well, I just think it's confusing, Pat.
It's confusing to me, and I helped move the money around.
I figured it was the, and the only reason I made the motion, because
I know, but it's still, the purview is still under the selectmen's purview to do that, and I think that if you just make recommendation as a budget committee, as a whole budget committee.
Well, let's, as a budget committee, I have to say that when I went through line by line, I made up my own, so that I could actually do comparisons to what was passed at town meeting, what the budget committee actually voted on. So I have to, in order to have a true comparison, I feel that that is the best way to go about doing it, to take out the encumbrances that were put in, to take out the transfers that were done between lines. It is your ability as selectmen to do that, to add that stuff in. It made it confusing for me, and I had to pull them out in order to look at it. But I had the time, and took the time to pull them out. People at town meeting won't have that ability.
I think it misleads.
Some of them wouldn't even understand.
I agree with you.
Exactly.
I agree with you
I think that's the last
wholeheartedly.
thing we want to do is try to mislead the people, because if someone questions it at town meeting, and then they find out that there's other lines, they lose interest. And they just say, you know what, forget it, I don't.
And they probably don't understand it, and it's asking them to mistrust.
Yes, it's definitely.
That's my point, Jim.
I think if we're going to include it that way, there should be a third line.
Well, there was another line. If you look in either 2008 or 9, you look in the town report, you'll see an additional line that the selectmen put in that showed that this actually was the budget they operated under. For
The operating budget.
But it wasn't the budget that was approved last year. It was
Yeah.
the budget that was approved last year matched exactly what the people had in front of them at the town. And I think that clarifies everything, Catherine. I'm not saying, I know you have the ability.
Oh, no, I agree with you. I agree with everything you're saying. I'm just pointing out that, as Pat said, we got 4 of us here, and
Yeah, so
And I did
if
not
you would
realize, I
really
figured
consider
it was
that,
the budget
put that in there, that would be greatly
More
appreciated.
information is always beneficial.
yeah, but it's a very
Yeah,
valid point.
right, 2009, budget actual voted revised.
See, it's right there.
Yeah, that would be a great.
that line in
That
there.
straightens it out.
Yeah,
We can bring it to the board tomorrow night.
yeah, I'll let the Board of Selectmen know about this discussion.
Let the board of selectmen know, will you?
We send them a letter?
Oh, no, I don't have time to write a letter. Come on.
Joanna can, though.
No, I think we're all for clarity.
Oh, gosh, yes.
But that was the year, it was 2009 that they had that,
Yeah.
and that was the only year they had that as that also.
Which I'm going to blend right into my next line item that I had on my agenda here. And that is the encumbrances. After our last meeting, Selectman Constantino had called me at home and let me know that they had encumbered a bunch of stuff, and they had a list for us at our last meeting of encumbrances, and that they had wanted to get that to us, but it had just gotten forgotten in what was going on. During this past couple of weeks, Tim had sent us out a list of encumbrances. And whoa, what a list.
Email?
An email.
Yeah, it might change.
You know, I don't
Which
think
way?
I've ever seen,
It can only change one way.
Go back.
where the heck did I put
You
it?
have to remember that when we make the encumbrances,
You want to make one?
we're not, the bills for 2011 haven't completely all come in, so we really don't know exactly how much is left over to spend.
Right.
So some of these, in fact, a majority of these encumbrances may not be able to be made.
Tree done?
Pardon?
The tree done?
Done? The tree
Just in time
done,
for the wind last
the
night.
railings at Buffalo Park, at Riverfront Park will come out of the,
Okay.
that's part of what
Jim,
Dennis
make another
does.
copy for Bob, will you?
And for Lynn. 3 copies.
While you're at it.
I got one, so I'm good.
Oh, I'll just look at Tony.
Question on what things that we've done.
This was just, I don't think we've ever encumbered that much, and I know that $30,000 of it, just under $30,000 is for the police cruiser and the pieces and parts that could be encumbered, but, the rest of the stuff, if we're gonna be encumbering $83,000, then do we really need another $25,000 in the repair line? the town hall repair line, because that just seems like a lot, you know,
Well, you have to remember when we came to that line, I believe I told you that there were projects that needed to get done that aren't budgeted here. For example, we have, you may periodically feel quite a draft coming from the stage, and we have a leak up there that we haven't been able to hire somebody to actually chase down and repair, so we have work that needs to be done here to button us up. We need more file storage space downstairs in the basement, so we'll have to be utilizing another space down there with, you know, all of the proper atmosphere for storing files, dehumidifiers, et cetera, et cetera. That's not anywhere in this budget, so there are other projects.
Humidifiers are here, though, aren't they?
That's to take care of the current problem we have in the back with moisture. That's not specifically for file storage.
So that's something different, Kathy?
That's something different. That's in the back part.
They are here, Scott, that they are here, but it's to take care of a different issue than what you're talking, what she was talking.
We have moisture in the back part, in the
When you say
basement.
back part, what do you mean?
The back part of the basement. If you look outside, there's two ways to get into the basement. For some reason, they blocked off. So if you go down into the basement from the main office, you can't go into the other side of the basement.
either go through
You have to
the
go
bulkhead.
outside and go down in through the bulkhead from Life Me. I don't know why they did that, but they did it.
Is that where the PD was down there?
No, the PD was underneath the front part here. The cells are still there. When you walk down the stairs from the main offices down, you walk straight ahead, you're going to walk into a cell.
So there's
That's
more
okay. I'm good.
dehumidifiers we need other than these two that are here?
If we create an area for file storage, there's a specific atmosphere you have to maintain in there to maintain those files in perpetuity. So yes, there'll be a different type of dehumidification. We have a file storage room already, which is pretty much full. And if you went in there, you would see that there's a system in there to make sure that,
What are we going to have in this area here, Kathy? With the stage area?
we have talked about Heather's office up there, because she's now in what used to be just kind of a cubby hole under the stairs. And boy, in the summer, I'll tell you, it's brutal.
Is it any better up here, really?
It is with the fans and the, yeah. It is.
Sounds like more repairs than we're...
But we have to have a place for file storage. Those are just examples of projects that need to get done.
So, have there been any changes to this,
Not that I'm aware of.
to the encumbrances?
Not that I'm aware of. We really won't know until later as we get moved more into January.
Just that one,
January, towards the end of the
one that
month.
jumped out at me that bothered me was the push bumpers for the cruisers. I wonder why we're doing that. We never did that before. They did it on the 10, and I would hope that we're not pushing cars with these, with the cruisers. I mean, we have enough repairs and maintenance with them, let alone having a push bumper on the front. I think that and the car washes seemed like it was crazy encumbrances. That's the only thing.
Well, it wasn't, they have to maintain.
Thank you, Tim.
Yeah.
Car washes, so they got a special yearly discount on the car washes, rather than going to the car washes every week, so many cars, so many weekly visits to the car wash, they severely discounted it, buying it ahead, encumbering the money, so we got the discount. Why did they not do it at the PD? There was an incident a couple of years ago where a police officer in the middle of the winter was doing it and slipped and fell in ice going on the vehicle.
Oh, I can see in the wintertime, I can see not washing cars outside in the
So
wintertime. I have no
it's
problem with
done,
that.
it's done in the winter.
But as far as the push bumpers,
As far as long as I've been selecting the cruises that we've gotten, have pushed.
no, we only have
This
one
is
in
the first
10.
time, yeah.
The 10 is the only one that has a push bumper.
Which line is that? I don't even
I've been
see.
selecting.
That's it. Well, the 11 didn't have it. The SUV did not have it.
I don't care.
SUVs not cruising.
Well, it's being used as a cruiser. Come on now.
Yeah.
Splitting hairs.
Well, I mean,
I think it's nonsense to have it on the front of a cruiser, I really do. I mean, to have,
Make more sense to have it on the SUV.
I would hope that they're not pushing, I mean, at what point would they use a push bumper?
Face to knock a guy off the side of the road.
Oh, good. On Route 3?
On Route 3, I hope not, John.
Into somebody's house,
Somebody on the
or?
road is gonna hit somebody coming the other way.
That's what they use for, and they only use it on a certain set of criteria.
I know,
I asked the chief, because I had the same question, why are you going to be pushing these cars?
Has this come up?
Not to the best of my knowledge.
Then back to Scott's question, why do we have it?
I mean, we never had them in the past. The 10 was the first car that ever came through with a push bumper. We never had it on the 02.
Have these already been ordered?
02
That's been ordered.
SUV.
The push
We never
bumpers
had
have already been ordered?
Car's done. Car's purchased. We have a delivery date.
one of the bumpers have been purchased, not two.
Oh, is that right?
One of the bumpers.
Oh, yes, because the other car is projected.
That's what the
I just want to,
All the way around.
when reading the article in the Echo, it was also stating that there was discussion on what's going to happen to cruisers that will be taken off the road, and there was something about making yet another town vehicle instead
That
of
has
just-
not been determined.
I know that it's not, I'm just saying that there was discussion about that. It's
There's
just,
been-
Discussion happened like, well, maybe we should just give one to Catherine, because she's always used to driving a truck, and we kind of laughed at it and said, maybe we should just give it to Catherine as a health officer. And she laughed, we laughed, and it got printed in the Echo.
Kind of like.
There have
I know,
been-
but it's still a concern
There-
when it gets printed in the Echo.
Numerous discussions, I can tell you, over the past couple of months about what cars are going to be replaced by a new car, what's going to happen to the old cars, do we auction them off, do we sell them outright? And I can tell you, nothing has been decided by the Board of Selectmen.
Right.
There's just been a multitude of discussions, and
That made the statement that the Board of Selectmen said, we will get this car from Auto Center too, and that's not how it happened. We did have, several.
bids.
Eliminated the fact that we had 3 bids. from
Yeah,
three
they didn't even
companies.
mention that, and that we awarded the bid to the low bidder.
'Cause usually they read the
That wasn't
bids
even
out.
in the Echo either, so.
We did.
Yeah, I know that, I don't trust everything I read in the
Right.
paper, but I just wanted to comment on that because I just wanted to put my 2 cents into the discussion and say no.
Well, we were all surprised to see it in there, considering we were all laughing when we were talking about
Right,
it.
exactly.
So getting these 2 new cruisers, we're getting rid of 2 cruisers then?
As they come in, yes, that
Okay.
Well,
was the thing, is not to
we've
let.
Right,
purchased
we're only
one
getting
cruiser.
one.
I know that.
One cruiser's in the budget,
But
so
if they
that's
both
not
go
a...
through this year, there'll be 2
Yes.
cruisers purchased in.
Correct.
Now, the other question that I have, and this is a concern that I have, and we all know that in the past, the second a new cruiser comes online, that's the one that gets pounded. Here, the 06s that we just encumbered, what did we encumber? $2,some $100, $2,547 for one of the 6 lease cruisers that's a Frontline now. That's still, both of those 2 lease cruisers are still going to stay in the rotation, right?
That
And they're not going to
transmission's
get
been
pushed to the
purchased.
side and say, okay, all of a sudden, the rotation changes and now it's the new cruisers that are going to get the blunt of it.
No, Chief's
Because that's what's happened in the past.
Chief's recommendation to us is the 05 going first. Now, keep in mind that even though we had purchased it, we will not be receiving it until May, June, the earliest, for the first one. And the town meeting votes the approval of the budget, that we will not see because of the demand, because what do you call it? What do we have now? Queen Mary.
Oh, the Crown Vic?
Crown Vics and Queen Mary. Police officers, they're all
What we call the town car.
now. So the demand is really high. You won't see that until late fall.
Now, a question in regards to that, it says all-wheel drive. when the chief came in front of us, him and the lieutenant came in front of us, they presented both all-wheel drive and a front-wheel drive model,
Right,
if I remember right.
right.
Was there any discussion about getting a front-wheel drive as opposed to all-wheel drive? Twofold. Number one, for the gas mileage is better on the front-wheel drive than the all-wheel drive. And there's less maintenance on the front-wheel drive as opposed to the all-wheel drive as far as the drivetrain. And a front-wheel drive, we all know a front-wheel drive car is much better than the Crown Vics they've been running, which are rear-wheel drive cars in the snow. There's no question about that. Was there any consideration given on that?
Boy, I can't, there was so much discussion about that car.
There was some discussion on it, but there wasn't any.
It wasn't, yeah,
Elaborated on.
no. But there was more discussion about maintenance and,
You have a maintenance contract with these though, right? Extended warranty, okay.
Because we've been talking about, gas usage and consumption and stuff. And I know these are V6s, so the gas mileage ought to come up on them, but
Well, this
an
is-
all-wheel drive is going to use more than a front-wheel drive car. No
This
question
is
about
supposed to
that.
be a whole lot better than that.
Oh, yeah, it will be. It's a 6-cylinder versus an 8, I'm sure.
It is.
But still, we idle them all day long, Pat.
We're working on it.
The only other question I had was the consulting contract. What is that for the 61 Business Park Drive? For $1,300?
That is, we have an issue that has come up with water in the building, and the builder of the building has given us these suggestions, and in order for us to go forward, we wanted a second opinion. So we went out and got the second opinion that was hired by us and not the building, and not in the interest, it was in the interest of the town and not anybody else's interest. So that was Turner Group, and it was Chris Hickey.
Bill Hickey.
So we did get the second opinion, and now we get the building that. So that's what the consulting fee was. We knew it should come with that.
And that Grange Hall, the remainder of the contract, that's a contract that was for what, Pat?
That was the 20,000 that was the warrant article.
That you hadn't spent?
Correct.
The 199, okay. Right.
And then, right. Is that 199 or something like that?
Yeah, 199.91.
Right. What was not in the warrant article was the tree removal.
The finish, strip, and wax the floors, that's for multiple times, right? The $400 at the PD?
No, actually, they put in
Say that's probably one.
VCD tile, and there's 3 rooms where there was old tile, so they had to strip that down, and then they had to seal the new tile, and then wax it brand new. That's what that was. Because it hadn't been.
On that gas surcharge, have we been just putting the money aside? Is that what we've been doing? So you're just carrying it forward to be able to pay it?
We used to pay it before we had a contract. I think if we need to take money out, I see some of the accessories for the PD, like the bumper, that would be one. We have to take a look at it, because Tim's going to come before us and make a recommendation by next week, because we have legal bills that we didn't expect that would not going to be so high. So some of this may change a little bit.
And the lights they have on the cruisers nowadays, if it's at night, you can't see when you come up behind them. They have so much flashing going on.
You can't even see during the day, they're
It's like a
blinding.
strobe light
If you
in your
have
eyes.
other bills, right now, you're looking at that the budget is underspent about $170,000. So you're taking half of that for encumbrances. And
Not all the 2011 bills are in there.
That's correct, yeah. There won't be any money added to fund balance, and if anything, some of the encumbrances may have to be automatic. By the time the encumbrances were done, we were hoping that there might be, but there was very little.
And what is the fund balance again, Tim?
750.
Around 750? And that's more than what DRA wants, right? It's like
Yeah,
10%,
really-
somewhere around there?
DRA is the one that reviews it with you, but it's really a standard set by a guideline set by the GFOA, Government Finance Officers Association, and it's anywhere from 5 to 17%. So we're well over the 5%, we're between 5 and 10%.
And that affects your bond rating? Does it?
No, we're actually, municipalities our size are kind of all grouped in one level above junk. Well, I mean, it's the truth. We go in with, if we were to go to the municipal bond bank, we get a better rating because we're grouped with a bunch of other municipalities. The size helps, mitigate any risk. So, but when you go to a bank, they do look at, they look at fund balance. That's very important. They look at the balance sheet to see how old the receipts are, the tax receivables, things like that. So yeah, this is a much better position than we've been in, as you know, as far as long as I can remember.
I just have one other question, Tony.
No, you go right ahead.
Well, it's to Tim, because he'll probably know more than... I know that there's accounting rules coming down that are changing as far as with, and I don't know if we have any in this town, like promised benefits to retirees that we pay. Are they going to have to start showing them as expenses on your books as opposed to...
It's a note in the audit. We did go through an actuarial review of that. We don't offer any, but you have to calculate in case the town did offer, what would that liability be and what would the expense be. So it's a note, but otherwise, really, it's an expense we have to bear every 3 years because of our size. So, we're good for 2 more years.
Because I know, talking with the gentleman from Interlakes, and it's going to vary them in the school district, what they have to carry forward.
For us, it's a note.
Yeah.
It's really not going to have any...
But for them, it's actually going to it's going to turn them upside down as far as...
Yeah, if towns or school districts provide those benefits, that could have a huge issue.
It's going to kill them, so... And I don't know how Winnisquam have an answer for it. That's all I have.
All right. Does anybody have any other questions in regards to the encumbrances? Then, just as a quick, and maybe not so quick, 'cause sometimes it doesn't end up that way. Right now, the budget is coming in up, I don't know, 0.46%, something like that. It's not up very much. We've had some increases that, year on year will add to that, when you look at the salary lines and they increase and stuff, and it causes the benefits and stuff. I just want to make sure that I am 100% clear that the new position for the health officer that has been created, basically, is not it's not a benefited position. There is no health insurance at all for that position. There's no dental expenses, because those expenses are expenses that they grow in leaps and bounds. So if it's there, it's going to continue to go in leaps and bounds. And I just want to make sure that...
May I say something on that? That this is a misconception on a lot of people's part that we are creating a new position.
Right, that's why I kind of changed myself.
It's not creating a new position. This position has been in existence for a number of years. This position has grown in hours. It takes a lot more hours to do what is necessary to get the job done. And we took a good hard look at it. We increased the hours and we increased the wages to the job. We didn't increase the job. We didn't change the job. And we have an opportunity, which we will see, to gain revenue from that to offset some. So it's not an increase in...
Right, I just don't want it to...
Well, it's not an increase right now, but to see that going, I mean, you've already said it's grown from what it is. What's to keep it from growing again into a full-time benefited position? Nothing at all.
Population.
Well,
I mean...
Our population hasn't grown in the last...
Our population has increased.
That could drive it.
Very slightly.
10 years from now, your population is doubled, then, you have to look at it then. But for now, I think we can justify that 32-hour position is $14 an hour is well needed here.
Right, I just want to limit it to that and not, not increase it by the additional cost. I mean, health benefits, dental benefits can be on any employee can be 50% additional wages. When you look at the dollar line, it's can add 50% to their wage base if they were just getting the money and paying for it on their own. That's a lot of money, and it just continues to grow.
There's no benefit.
As yet.
Part-time, and we've never really, the town, to my knowledge, has never paid benefits for part-time positions.
Is this a salaried position or is it an hourly position?
Salaried.
Not to exceed, you based it on...
Oh, you're talking about currently or proposed?
Proposed.
Well, currently, what I have been doing as health officer, I've been receiving a salary. So it's going from a salary to an hourly position, not to exceed.
You were stipend more than a salary.
Now, you have to remember the Department of Labor and the IRS does not recognize stipend.
Oh, really? Exactly.
No, it's like the selectmen don't receive a stipend. This tax is taken out of that. Committee members receive a stipend because you're not performing a service for the town you're a committee.
Yeah, it's all.
So as an employee, as a health officer, I'm an employee, so I don't receive a stipend. It's a salaried position.
You will bill a town or somebody will have a record of the hours worked there each week.
And will you be supervised?
Absolutely.
Well, the reason they know how many hours is from the reports
Sorry,
that
I had to throw that in there.
But I keep a diary, and it's required.
But here's the question I have, Catherine.
Keep a diary.
It's not to exceed 32 hours, right? You've stated that. But what if the demand exceeds 32 hours? Are you just going to say, sorry, I can't help you, I'm beyond my hours?
You exceed 32 hours. Sometimes there's...
So you're guaranteeing you're going to work 32 hours, at least, right?
Right now, for the last year, she has worked 20 to 30 hours a week.
But that's my point. The economy is not necessarily getting better.
Well,
Nothing's changed.
you have to recognize what generates really a health officer. And when I said population, it wasn't necessarily population growth of the town. Lockmere Meadows is a perfect example. When you have more tenant housing in town, you have far more need for a health officer, because a health officer, one of the primary duties is enforcing housing codes as it pertains to dwelling units for tenants. I have done more bed bugs inspection this year than I ever want to do my entire life.
But that just upholds my point here, Catherine.
Well,
My
what is your
is
point? But the point
you're
is
going to be getting more.
No, our zoning won't allow much more of that type of housing because of the density requirements. That development, Lockwood Meadows, was before the ZBA last night because of density issues. So, I mean,
It's just I see a huge
but
door
nevertheless, your
there. And
health
not that I
officer...
begrudge you the money, by the way.
Oh, no, it's not me.
You know, I'm not saying
Let's
that
talk about
in
it as
any
a position
way.
and not my position. It could be somebody else's 5 years from now. But you have to understand, it's a mandatory position. If it grows to 40 to 45 hours a week, there's nothing we can do about it. There's nothing you can do. The health officer has to respond. Tilton has to provide a health officer to respond to complaints for
And that's my
48A,
point.
157. But I can tell you from what I've seen in the past, somebody asked me how many years I've been health officer. I think it's 6. I'm not sure. But it's only in the past 3 years that it's really kind of mushroomed as we've had, more housing units, like room. Now, those is, they call up for bed bugs, but usually they're ants.
And so
But I
over the
still have
past
to
several years,
respond.
you've seen the demand grow, right?
As our tenant housing grows.
It also has to do with the fact that as the state's cut back, it's been more.
Right. There's no reason to assume the state is not going to continue to come back on its services.
Right,
and that
but there's
position's
nothing we're going to be
grow.
able to do. At least for this year, you can see that what the selectmen are telling you, that that position, and quite frankly, I mean, let's put me back in the role, I'm not going to exceed 32 hours, and like I told you, this week, I think I've spent 8 hours, and it's really, this week I've spent most of my time inspecting daycare and that type of thing. But I can guarantee you that it's not going to be any overtime hours. It's not going to exceed what we've already mandated. If somebody's else in the position, I can't tell you that that's not going to happen. I can't.
Salary position.
Well, then either we are being unfair to Catherine because she's working way too much for way too little, or it should be a full-time position, in which case there's a huge bunches of money that...
You may be looking at this, in a year. I'm up in a year, so you may be looking at this in a year.
Think of it this way, a
as
full-time
somebody else
position
moves
is,
into
what,
the
38
position.
hours, right?
But I can
So
tell
you
you...
have 6 more hours and you're a full-time position, and then we are liable for benefits and et
But
cetera.
if she's full-time,
You're not gonna-
she can't be
Yeah, you're not going to have to worry about it this year. I can guarantee you that, only because I'm in the position. I can't tell you that if somebody else holds the position. But I can tell you, as I see it, I don't see it ever being a real full-time position. Tilton would have to really, we'd have to get rid of our density requirement in the zoning that we have right now.
Times do change.
I agree with you, they do, but I don't see that happening.
It's structured very similarly to the welfare officer. So it's the same type of structure in terms of salary, part-time.
I think it's economically driven as well, because I work with Heather.
The revenue, yeah, the revenue is next. I'd like to just take 5 minutes here and just let everybody have a chance to take a look at them, because we've just gotten these moments ago, and nobody's really looked at them, so if you want to just hold your question for a few minutes while we take a break for 5 minutes and just look at this.
Excuse me. Makes good bubble gum too. Make some gum.
Oh, sure, thank you.
Is this going around?
What are we selling?
I think the houses that they probably, that's one of the houses that they.
Excellent.
What?
You want gum?
People buy new cars, the price of cars keep going up.
Building permits is interesting, isn't it? This is
Who's playing cards?
Has everybody had a chance to look it over?
About that, too.
Bob, you ready?
I'm even surprised
You
people.
guys ready? No, they've had a chance to look at them?
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to call the meeting back to order to review and vote on the projected 2012 revenues. Here, Tim, we've got a projected increase, mostly from the sale of town property, so that would be my first question. What are we selling?
Yeah, essentially, the overview of this is it's with some tweaks and some minor changes. It's largely 2011 revenues with the one exception of the sale of town property, which are the tax deeded properties, one of which is going to be sold at auction, and the town, at auction, the town recoups all of our past taxes, interest, plus a penalty, I think it's a 15% penalty on the assessed valuation of the property. So we receive that out of the proceeds. So there's that. That property is located on Beach Street on West Lawn. And then we have another property that the selectmen entered into an agreement with the owner, the former owner, to repurchase the property through a repayment schedule of back taxes and a combination of rent while they're residing in the home. So they're on a payment schedule where they're paying back all their back taxes and they're paying rent for the house. So it's a combination of those. And there's one other that is not included in here, which is still, it's not a significant value, so it wasn't, it could lead to more revenue perhaps on disposition of goods.
Is there a time frame the town has to wait before they can sell a tax deeded property? How long is that?
90 days.
90 days?
90 days.
There's notices that have to take place.
You have to post it, then 30 days after that, you have to do the papers and...
We're getting toward the end of that. Should be around 90 grand, I think.
On the beach, on the Beach Street?
The Beach Street property is going up.
Even though the penalties and what have you.
So the penalty, it gets sold, and does the previous owner get anything out of it? Nothing? Or you don't know?
It depends on what it's sold for.
Okay.
We get all our monies in penalties, everything that's owed to us back, and then whatever's left over, the bank or him gets.
There's a mortgage holder.
Oh, there is a mortgage holder.
Right.
It goes to the bank, and then it goes
Legal
to...
fees, penalty assessments, interest.
Electricity.
I always thought a mortgage would pay off the town so that someone didn't get in front of them.
And they probably will, when you come right down to it.
But I mean, it's our fees, what's the cost that the town has is going to recoup, Tim, with, say that it sells above what they owe us, what's the cost that the town's looking at recouping from that one property?
If I remember correctly, it's about 98.5.
98.5 in penalties, taxes?
Quite a sizable chunk of penalties.
The penalties must be.
The penalty is 15% on I think it was the assessed value, it's 300 and something thousand.
So it's off the assessed value.
Right, the assessed value, yeah. And then any expenses that we've had to expend, we've had to pay for electricity to
Locks
keep
being changed.
functioning.
Posting signs.
Having,
Winterizing it.
Now, is the reduction in the interest and penalties on delinquent taxes, is that in reflection of what was taken for properties? Is that why it went from 121 being budgeted down to around 100,000?
we've also had really good collections in some of the old AR. So it's been a combination of things. It's also difficult to tell whether if the advent of having the credit card payments has taken away some of our interest.
It was still about $435,000 that was applied at Belknap County Registry of Deeds this April by Cindy when she went up there.
Correct. Correct. Which
is higher than it was the year before. by about $8,000, $9,000 more.
I think it went down actually from year to year, but just very slightly. I have a chart that shows the progression of those. I'd have to double check it.
Because I know since 2008 we've been over 400,000.
But we had some large owners that owed a lot of back property tax, and there was a significant collection made prior to that. So, and it could be too that people not wanting to incur 12 and 18% interest or go to tax lien or putting it on a credit card and just paying the minimum payment too.
One had several pages.
One had several pages. That's correct. Yeah.
R.J. Moreau?
Yeah. I wasn't going to mention any names.
Yeah.
I don't mind.
So in any case,
Public record.
And there's really no way to tell, what's going to come in on that. But based on our experience in prior years, we don't think it's going to drop like a rock. But it's just going to be conservative.
Does this include the septic system repairs up on? That includes that amount.
Yeah, we'd actually, those repairs were done in the supplemental warrant in 2011, so that was done as a warrant on the property.
That money is collected as taxes would be.
Is the room and meals tax in this too, Tim?
It is.
Underneath the 229?
159 and change, yes.
But underneath the 229 state of New Hampshire?
That's correct, yeah. The highway block grant last year, they came out with one figure of $67,000, and a month and a half later, sent out notices that they had made an error, and refigured everything, and it went down to like, I think ours is $58,000.
Oh, yeah.
So, like I said, mostly it's just a, some tweaks from here to there. The big thing is the sale of town properties.
Yep, that's good.
What would be underneath the other miscellaneous revenues, Tim?
Yeah, that
90-some thousand.
That has everything from police department auctions, miscellaneous income in the selectman's office, which is $35,000, school resource officer reimbursement, grants and donations, donations that aren't restricted. We do receive donations for specific purposes.
What's going on with the interest on investments?
So that is the beginning of seeing a higher rate of return by switching banks. We're already seeing a large increase, and we've been successful in getting all the conservation funds, the town accounts. We're still transitioning the main operating account because of the number of ACHs that we have that are affected. But that should be done within this next month, hopefully. I was hoping by the
Do we have the accounts swept at night?
They are.
They are, okay.
And the accounts that aren't swept are in a municipal money market account. They're all collateralized. But we're earning right now about 6 times, 7 times what we were earning at our former bank. And the sewer commission, I was able to convince the sewer commission to move their PDIP as well into the municipal money market. So
Still sad.
the trustees of the trust funds as well moved $1.30 million over, so they're going to see a significant increase as well.
Bank must be happy.
Yeah, and so, you know, it's so we have to
Pay for
see
it.
how things are going to look by the end of the year, but that's a projection based on transitioning it over this year.
Okay. We should have a motion or two.
I move that we accept the revenues at $1,508,000.
I'll second that.
Okay, that's just the town portion that excludes the sewer. We have a motion and a second to accept the revenue figures as presented here, with the general fund revenue budget being $1,508,000. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? So moved. Okay. All righty. We just have a couple more things I want to just address. Do a recap here. I went through the town of Tilton recommended 2012 budgets. The selectmen worked very hard, and they presented to us a very conservative budget that brings us up just less than 1% overall for the year. I would, you know, I'm really happy with that. I can't really complain about that at all.
Good job, guys.
Well, don't get too happy, they'll be wanting for 2%.
I know, no. Well, you know, I was going to say that, you know, if there's $83,000 though worth of encumbrances available still, and this budget is up from last budgets, maybe there's $83,000 in this budget we can cut out. I don't think you guys want me to do that.
Not yet.
Okay, but if you were able to do such a fantastic job this last year, we'll hope that there'll be such a fantastic job done for 2012 as well, and so that every year the taxpayers of Tilton will be, you know, given a budget that's bare bones, because that's pretty much over the years is what we've gotten to, is we've gotten it down so that we're working with a bare bones budget.
We worked very hard.
Excellent job. If there's that much money left over, then you know that you're doing it.
This is the first year the budget committee and the selectmen have agreed on. There's only one
line.
What was it, the Red
Well, I think that
Cross?
comes from
Cross.
communications back.
Red
Cross.
You know what? That comes from communications.
I totally agree with that, and I'm so pleased. It's the Red Cross.
Yeah.
1,150.
Exactly, that's the only difference.
3-year budget, now budget. Kudos to everybody.
I have one question.
Well,
Yes.
Well, Tim is here. Can we just have a little brief discussion about what Scott brought up about the budget and as it pertains to the approved?
Yes, yes, that's on my recap.
Never mind, you can go right ahead. I should have known.
There's one line I didn't know.
I should have known.
It was brought up by Scott here that, and this is, it was suggested that Catherine bring in front of the Board of Selectmen that when the annual reports get printed, that the actual numbers that were in the budget and voted on, that were approved in the budget last year, are what the town people see in that document. Joe went and he found the 2009 annual report, which shows that the actuals, the approved, and then the revised numbers, so that both numbers were in there. It was just that it made it very clear that this is what was at town meeting, this is what numbers got revised to, and this is what the new numbers are from the selectmen and the budget committee. So Catherine's gonna,
Yeah, I did that 2009 one.
yeah.
Yeah.
So if,
So those
that was our
selectmen will
request.
discuss it Thursday night, and
All right. So we finished up the budget, we finished up the revenue. Next week is a public hearing. And the week after, warrant articles. I assume that the selectmen have been working on. Do you know, have there been any?
you're
We have
hopeful.
one warrant article so far right now that's going to be, it's a money warrant article, it's $15,000 our share, and that's contingent on whether or not Northfield votes theirs in, and that's for engineering services to look at the
Island.
embankment over the island. That's, right now, that's the only warrant article with any large money articles. We have a few capital improvement ones that are in every year. Other than that, there are no money articles.
Well, there's,
That would be the road, that's normally $40,000 a year, which I personally had recommended be increased. But that's me personal.
Well, we're working on it, we've got-
So, yeah, other than the normal ones that we put away, have been, there's no, so far, there's no surprise that have come before us.
there is a surprise that will be coming,
Thanks.
but it's not a horrible surprise.
A sewer line.
If that warrant article for the island doesn't go through,
Carnival up at 1:30.
if that doesn't go through,
New what?
you think it's time that you try to form a committee and try to raise funds to fix the island? You can't. You know, private funds, you go out and have a committee just, because
The problem is if
it
we own
seems like one year Tilton will vote for it or whatever, and then we hear that Northfield didn't, or one town waits for the other to take the article up. If they vote it down, then it's tabled, and it's been on, I don't know, how many, 2 or 3 years it has to have been on the warrant article.
we can't buy it from them.
No, I know.
We have to own it jointly according to the deed, you know, and I quite frankly hate to make this warrant article contingent on theirs. I hate capital reserve funds, but I'd love to take and raise and appropriate the money and stick it away. So, okay, we've raised ours, now where's your share?
Otherwise, we're not going to have an island.
Well, that's my point. We keep pushing this off every year in, year out, and I mean, it's been on warrant articles at least 3 years in town, and nothing's been done, and guess what? Nothing, I mean, the island's gonna erode away,
Yep.
because the protection for it is...
The one thing that the old man shows us is it doesn't matter how much you protect against it, nature will do what it will.
I will tell you though,
Also, the first year that we really joined in communications.
Yes.
They split with us, anything that's going on, they rallied with us. They're in support of this. They will speak in support of it, so.
the last meeting that Pat and I went to, and we presented them with the, you know, with this idea about the island and what are we going to do about it, they were very receptive. So we have high hopes that that'll be communicated to their legislative body, and maybe, but you're right, if it doesn't go through this year, we got to look at it from another side.
I get so tired of the two towns. No, you go first. No, you go first.
I'm gonna go first. I'm going.
Just gets old.
I know, but we're at a stalemate, and we've been...
So let's draw a big white line down the middle of the island, decide where that is, and we'll fix our side.
Fix our side.
No, I have one more, just one more. And it's a very simple, it's just a reminder that downstairs is the board for putting your name back on it if your term is up. I will make the announcement right now that I will not be running again for the Budget Committee. So, just wanted to let you know that my name will not be one of those, but if your term is up, please.
However, there's this write-in thing you can do.
I might be up too.
Tony, will you
No, I
reconsider?
think it's
Am I?
Tony and mine. Tony,
Will you reconsider?
There's 3.
there is 3. John, are you up?
None of my business.
I think I might be.
I think
John and Tony and Scott. Your
What are you looking at me like that for? Don't look at me, call my husband.
Is that what it'll take?
We'll do a midnight
make
call
that call.
campaign. Tony will be on the budget committee, or else.
Take 2 AM, he won't even hear the phone.
I know Tony's not run the budget committee, she's going to take the open position for select.
There you go.
School district budget.
Nice job. Nice job. Nice job. And my husband will say, well, we're not even probably going to be here next year, so good luck with that.
Well, you know, you could fill the position, and then if you do move, we can...
Find somebody
Video
else.
conferencing, you know, we all have Skype now, so.
All righty, you want to make that motion?
Motion, we adjourn?
I second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. Any discussion? Hearing none, call the vote. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? So moved.
We could write you in, Tony.
I know, but you can write anything you
So
want.
you should get here early.
Would have to accept.
I tell you, it's a big loss to the town. You do a hell of a job.
Yeah, I've done my best, and it's time to...
Pretty darn good.
I get the new razor. Yeah, I get the new one.
Well, I had the same.
Use mine for everything. Oh, all my email,
Me too.
PDF records, a budget on it. I connect it up to the TV, watch Netflix on
Hard to be a public servant and anything else. Well, that's the
it. The
trouble.
phone, the razor,
It really is an issue.
Everything works.
If I were supposed to, 15 days, we want to go to work.